I think every year in the NFL, we have a backup quarterback. Somebody goes down. There's always an injury. It's an unavoidable thing, but I think it's something that always happens. You can almost put it, if you were to make a prop bet, you can bank on the fact somebody's team is going to go down. There's going to be a backup quarterback that comes in and momentarily dazzles us. And it's the new shiny object, especially when they play well. Everyone is enamored with the quarterback, especially the play. You have guys like Cooper Rush, Bailey Zappi, Jacoby Brissett, Teddy Bridgewater, Andy Dalton, at least this season. We've had examples in the past where you have guys like Kyle Allen come in and dazzle us for a couple games, and the reality starts to set in. And this is more of what this segment is about. Buy or sell. Am I going to buy these backups or am I going to sell them? And it's not like necessarily like being put on the market right now. This is in terms of would I personally have them aboard? Would not necessarily also we got to establish some of the parameters of this little game or experiment for this podcast is do I buy into the play, not necessarily as a starter, but are they viable? And I will explain it in certain situations. I may end up breaking my own rules really quickly, but we're gonna go through Bailey Zappi. We're gonna go through Kyle. We're gonna go through the Kyle Allen thing first to start. We're gonna talk about Bailey Zappi. We're going to talk about Cooper Rush, and we're talking about Jacoby Brissett specifically. We may touch on Andy Dalton or Teddy Bridgewater, depending on what points are made and the flow of this. But let's start with Kyle Allen. So in 2019, Cam Newton's last year with the Panthers, Cam Newton goes down with an injury, and that was a tough year for the Panthers. It was a very talented roster, great team. They start 4-2 with Kyle Allen going 4-0 in those starts and playing relatively well. But then reality sets in. There's a backup quarterback there for a reason. There is certain limitations on their game, certain mental limitations, not in terms of like they're stupid, but like just processing the game in certain ways. Just certain quarterbacks see the field better than others. And as a defense, you start to figure that out when you get the film, you get the tape, you get multiple games where you start to see, okay, this offense isn't doing that. We're going to have Kyle Allen do this, or he struggles against cover three, or he struggles against quarters defenses. Let's give him those looks and see if he can beat us until he proves us wrong otherwise. We're going to keep throwing that look out there, or he struggles against blitzing seven and he can't process the field fast enough, and then he's going down. So Kyle Allen started 4-0. And then the San Francisco game, again, a team that went to the Super Bowl, so I'll be fair, he threw 3 picks. And then a game against the Falcons, they did not go to the Super Bowl. Threw 4. And that was the end of the Kyle Allen experiment. Cam Newton would come back, and the Panthers would miss the playoffs that year after a great start, finished disappointing. I believe they won 5 games to finish that year. And we're picking in the top 10 yet again. So there's a lot of backup quarterbacks. You got injuries to Mac Jones with the high ankle sprain. You got the injury with Tua and the concussion. You've got Deshaun Watson suspended currently. And you have Dak Prescott nursing back a thumb injury that he had to get stitches for and not yet ready to grip the football. So we start with Bailey Zappi, who is currently 1-0 as a starter, and he played well in his debut against Aaron Rodgers, where he threw for a touchdown. His current stats are 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. And I think he's north of 60% in terms of completion percentage. So look, I get it, but I'm going to sell on Bailey Zappi. I get it. I get the hype. Don't worry, B Zappi. And coming from a Patriots fan, I've loved that he's been able to keep the season afloat. But there's a reason that Mac Jones is the franchise quarterback. And this would probably be a different conversation, I feel, if Mac Jones struggled in 2021. And I get that there were struggles to start the season, but I think that's in part to trying to get Devontae Parker involved heavily, try to almost validate that decision by Belichick. And the product of having a brand new play caller for the first time in Matt Patricia. So the team was starting to kind of figure it out when Mac Jones went down, which is why you've been seeing an emphasis on the run and the zone runs with Ramondre Stevenson and Damian Harris racking up yardage like it's cash. I don't know where that metaphor came from, but I'm just going to sell on Zappi. I don't think he's the long-term solution for the Patriots. If you're in the elevator and you're chatting it up with your friend and they're like, well, you think Bailey Zappi should start over Mac Jones? I'd say no. Now, if Bailey Zappi goes 6-0 and the team is clearly better with him, maybe there's a conversation to be had there, but Mac Jones is the guy. And not only will this make this team better for it, I think it'll make Mac Jones a little better. It'll kind of give him a little bit of urgency. So I'm going to sell on Bailey Zappi. I'm going to buy with caution on Cooper Rush. I do not think he's going to take Dak's job. I think what Jerry Jones said was highly irresponsible. Just to throw that out there and potentially force Dak back when he does not need to play if he's not 100%. I think Cooper Rush is a fine quarterback. He could be a starter for one of the 32 NFL teams. Probably better starter than, I can't say Geno Smith because he's been playing really well, but I think he'd be a serviceable starter on the Texans. The Bears, if the Justin Fields situation doesn't work out, I think he'd be serviceable in Detroit. There's a lot of good spots for Cooper Rush. I just don't think he's this franchise quarterback for the Cowboys. Coming off of a franchise year where Dak Prescott threw for over 30 touchdown passes, and when they went 12-4 and won the division, I don't think it's fair to throw Dak Prescott out in the water. And it was a different situation with Tony Romo because Tony Romo was at the end of his rope. He was very, very injury prone. The back injuries were really, really serious. So it was a different situation there. And he was out for the entire year. I believe he was out 7 to 8 weeks, and the Cowboys were rolling by then. So it was an obvious decision to make for Dak Prescott. And I actually was on the phone with my buddy Jackson, and he said, the Cowboys are doing what works, and the Patriots are doing that as well. They're running the football, and they're kind of letting Cooper Rush take this game manager role where it's not like a dink and dunk type thing, but he just doesn't lose them the game, and they use what works for their offense, and that is running the football with efficiency. So we'll see how it all pans out, but I'm going to buy Cooper Rush with caution. I like what I see, but I don't think he's a franchise guy. Jacoby Brissett, I'm selling. This Browns team is close to sinking, and Jacoby's job was to not sink the boat. This is a team that has a Super Bowl roster. When they get their Super Bowl quarterback out, it's just when they get him out of the doghouse, as they would say. But I've seen what I would need for Brissett. He's a great quarterback when you need him, one of the better backups in this league, but he's not going to get the Browns to the playoffs. He just got to keep them afloat. It's more or less of they're doing the same thing with the Cowboys and Patriots are doing. Do what you're good at, run the football and do it well. But there were some throws on Sunday against the Chargers where you just kind of put your hand in your face, just kind of like, oh man, that's not a good throw. And that he's also limited mobility wise. So when you bring it back to Deshaun Watson, the Browns can only just hope to be hopefully 6-6, maybe 7-5, and see if Watson can provide some late season magic to get Cleveland in the playoffs. So I'm going to sell on Brissett, not because he's a bad quarterback, but just because of what they have available when he's going to be ready to go in about 6 weeks. I think it's either 12 or 11 weeks of the suspension. And then my last two are Teddy Bridgewater and Andy Dalton, which in their certain circumstances, they're both going to be here for about two more weeks at least. Winston, I don't know the severity of his injury with his back. And then Tua with concussion, we don't know how long he'll be out. But I'm not going to say how long he should because it's very controversial at the moment. So I like both of those as backups. Andy Dalton could be a starter. Teddy Bridgewater could certainly be a starter. He was for the Panthers, and Andy Dalton for the Bengals and partially the Cowboys. So he's made it work. Doesn't necessarily translate into wins, but that Cowboys team in 2020 was atrocious. So there was a lot of I would buy both of those quarterbacks, but in certain situations, because I think the Dolphins are just injury prone. Mind the phone just falling there. The Dolphins are just gassed right now, injury wise. They're going to have a little bit of a drop off, but I like what I see from them. I think they're a playoff team with Tua if he's healthy. Don't rush him out there, please. But yeah, that'll do it for my buy or sell portion of the NFL quarterbacks. And this will wrap up today's Man with a Plan podcast, episode 105. Guys, thanks as always for joining. I appreciate your time and have a fantastic week. We're going to try to do more of these consistently. We'll see how things go, though. No promises, just because things always get busy. You know that. Guys, thanks as always. Subscribe for more or give us a 5-star rating to let us know you enjoy the show. And check out the TikTok, which has been doing very well. But you got to go see why. Thank you guys as always. Take care and have a great week.